to my channel. Today I decided that I will divide my review in 3 parts because this book is so good that I cannot do it injustice and talk about it in 1 or 2 hours. So this book is so complex. It has 3 big parts. So I will just divide it. Okay, I think this is the best choice. I have done the same with a very beautiful book about sleep called Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, The Science of Sleep. And I will do the same with this book. So today I'm going to talk about the first part of the book. This is the book. It is covered by some stickers, but it's written by Alfie Kohn. Its title is Punished by Rewards. The trouble with gold stars, incentive plans, A's, praise, and other bribes. The book is it's definitely a heavy one. It's definitely some reading to do. I have put a sign in here like we will talk about this first part of the book. Yeah, as usual, I will say a couple of things about the author. This is the author, Alfie Kohn. I admit that I did a bit of research before just to see how I should pronounce his name, and I came across an interview talking with him, and he says it's not Kohn, it's not Kohn, it's Kohn. So yeah, I did a bit of research. So Alfie Kohn is the author of many acclaimed books, including Punished by Rewards, The Schools Our Children Deserve, Unconditional Parenting, and The Homework Myth. Kohn has been described by Time magazine as perhaps the country's most outspoken critic of education's fixation on grades and test scores. He speaks widely on education, parenting, and human behavior, and he has been featured on hundreds of radio and television programs, including Today and Oprah. He has a website at www.alfiekohn.org. So this book in its entirety basically demolishes what we have been believing to be extremely good in our society, I would say. Basically praising, giving students grades, giving employees all kinds of bribes and incentives and bonuses and performance pay. These are very common ideas that are thought to be, I don't know, just normal. They are a normality, and nobody questions them any longer. It's just like almost like water. Like I think that a lot of the ideas that Alfie talks in this book are ideas that permeated our society so well that they're not even questioned. It's like common belief. It's like drinking water. And Alfie says that this is the danger of this kind of ideas, that we no longer question why we are doing what we are doing, and we need someone like Alfie to shake us really well. I must tell you that if you are a parent, if you are a teacher, if you are a manager, and you think that what you are doing is great, you might be severely triggered by this book. You might not want to read it, or you might consider that, okay, this is like a bunch of balonies, but do be prepared to be triggered a lot. Because this book is saying blatantly what we are doing wrong, not only as teachers, but as parents, as adults, as managers. And I think that education should never be about power. And the first part of this book that I will talk about, of course, I've been taking some notes, and I will just try to, as usual, do a bit of reading between the notes and going back to the book, maybe underlining some really amazing quotes. But the first part of the book that I'm going to talk about today is, how did we get in here, like in this kind of mentality? And part one is about the case against rewards. So in this first part, Alfie will lead us into a journey through psychology. He states that everything that we do today is based on pop behaviorism, which has stemmed from back in the old days, from Skinner and Thorndike, who were two psychologists that really thought that a human being is only a subset of behaviors. And this led to an idea that you can basically train someone to do something, and that will be good. So in this first part, the gist of behaviorism, it's getting demolished by Alfie Kohn. And not only that, he shows that although like decades have passed since this theory of behaviorism was embraced by some, we still use it throughout our society to make decisions and to stimulate people. So I have remained quite shocked to see and realize it, that we are using old theories to make current reality work, and this is madness basically. Okay, so let's begin. So the book starts with a very harsh statement by Alfie, saying that we are a society of loyal Skinnerians, unable to think our way out of the box we have been reinforced ourselves into. So we are living in a box basically. We are still living in a box in 2024 when it comes to everything, especially when it comes to education. This is definitely a harsh statement, but it is backed up by a lot of research. So we are in part one. So first chapter from part one is Skinner boxed, the legacy of behaviorism. Here we get down to the nitty and gritty. So the core, what is pop behaviorism? Pop behaviorism is the modern version of behaviorism. Basically, it is, well, like the essence that most people took out of behaviorism, the classical theory, and put that into action, into the daily life. So the core of pop behaviorism is do this and you'll get that. It is very, very simple, but it is the main ingredient that a lot of people base their educational skills and their leadership skills. It is on this very, very simple statement. You do this and you'll get that. Alfie makes a comparison between the classical conditioning, the case of Pavlov's dog. Some things just produce natural responses, like it is natural for a dog to pre-salivate, sort of say, before like he knows he's gonna get something, but it is normal for that response, versus the operant conditioning, the Skinner's rats. It is about how an action may be controlled by a stimulus that comes after it rather than before it. So this comparison is really vital to be understood. Why? Because there is a difference between things that are supposed to happen and things that are natural to happen, and things that happen only after a certain stimulus or condition is imposed. For example, it is common knowledge, the fact that a lot of the lab animals are being starved before the experiments, just because they have to, like, it's a way of forcing them into a response. So whenever someone is intervening with a stimulus, we are already in a Skinnerian box. I know this might sound a bit maybe complicated, and I'm trying to translate it in such a way that it doesn't sound like, okay, we're going to talk about psychology and really like pompous terms. No, but when we think about behaviorism, it's very important for you to retain the fact that behaviorism is all about dangling a reward, or intervening in some way in order to get a response. This is a very vital concept that you should grasp before delving further into this book. Okay. And the core of behaviorism, it is quite dehumanizing, I would say. So the core of behaviorism is that what we are is nothing other than what we do. So this is like the belief that gives behaviorism its name. So behaviorism doesn't look at inner traits, at the environment. No, behaviorism is all about scrutinizing your actions, like what you do, regardless of the reasons behind what you do. That is irrelevant in behaviorism. There are some talks about some programs that have been let's say apparently successfully implemented in the USA when it comes to rewards. I have written down one case of Pizza Hut, the pizza chain Pizza Hut, who tried to do a program for reading more books, like trying to reward the kids with extra pizza in case they read more. But the conclusions have been that giving kids incentives like pizza did not help them with being interested in what they're learning. They picked the easiest books, and after the program stopped, the children were no longer interested in reading at all, even less than before the program was like experimented onto them. There is also a talk about the workplaces. and the prevalence of behaviorism, of pop behaviorism in the workplace. One little note, this book written by Alfie Kohn, like there is a lot of research and a lot of data that is backing up the statements made by the author. The only issue is that the studies are predominantly made in the USA, and he correlates them with some studies made in Japan and Germany. So this is a book that addresses mainly the issue from an American standpoint, if I could say, but the charm of it is that even if the studies are done in the USA, the results match, like they are universal. That's quite important. Okay, so it's about the workplaces in the USA, and there's another harsh statement. I must tell you, like, there are a lot of harsh statements in this book, so it will be triggering. American workplaces are enormous Skinner boxes with parking lots. This is really true, and it's all about management. And another thing that makes behaviorism be so prevalent in our society is because it is very simple. So this is a very fine observation and a very good one made by the author, in the sense that when it comes to education and the workplace, it's all about good management. So good management, like good teaching, is a matter of like solving the problems, helping people to do their best. This takes time. This takes time and effort and patience and talent. On the contrary, dangling a bonus in front of employees does not. So this is why I think one of the root causes of why behaviorism is still so much, it's like so used, because it's so simple. Like trying to lure someone into doing something with a reward absolutely requires no effort from your part. You're basically giving yourself a very nice, clean, easy way through problems by resorting to rewards. This is not to say that those who do it are, let's say, lazy, but it is much simpler. Because if you make a comparison between trying to find a strategy to deal with people versus trying to stimulate them with rewards, it is much easier, and it can give you the illusion that it's much more like a less time consuming activity. Like, you know, okay, this school doesn't work, or I'm a manager and my employees absolutely suck, so I'm just gonna go and dangle a couple of really hefty bonuses in order to stimulate them. This is a very quick solution. It takes you literally 10 minutes. Versus, okay, I'm a manager and the employees totally suck. I have to do some research. I have to see, okay, what isn't working, where this is much more time consuming. So this is again like something to take in mind. There is a talk about the punishment and rewards as being an exercise of power. I have found this to be a really interesting perspective, because I think it is quite dangerous to believe that someone who uses rewards is kind of a saint. We look at people who give rewards and praise as being good people, as trying to be motivators, like we almost like sanctify them. But we should look at giving rewards and punishments as being, it is a selfish act. It is a selfish act, and this is something that I never thought about, and this is why this book is so refreshing and also so controversial, because it makes us stop looking at rewards as deeds done by good people. It's not. They're not. It's an exercise of power. Even like when you try to dangle like an ice cream in front of your screaming child, you're not the good Samaritan trying to, no, you're selfish. You're trying to make your child like shut up and trying to lure them into behaving how you want them to behaving. Basically, a lot of the people nowadays treat other people like they are rats in a lab. And this is what behaviorism does. It's um, it's incredible. It's incredible. And looking at rewards mainly at an exercise of power, it's a shifting paradigm. Okay, and studies have shown like the more rewards are used, the more they seem to be needed. So you're heading a very dangerous path. Sorry, you are heading a very dangerous path when you start to use rewards. It's very dangerous because as you further see in the upcoming chapters that I'll talk about, it's like a drug. Rewards are like, it's like a drug. You offer like one reward, and then it's like the actions of the person receiving the reward are contingent on the rewards themselves. So you are entering a very vicious loophole. Like if you stop giving the reward, then the other person will feel maybe offended or take it as an attack. They will feel even more demotivated. It's a very vicious circle, and it's really toxic. Okay, the second chapter from this first part has this title: Is it right to reward? In this chapter, it's about the ethical aspect of rewarding. How ethical is it to reward someone based on what they do? This chapter starts with a clarification done by the author. He says like this: my claim is that pop behaviorism is by its very nature very dehumanizing. The human self has been yanked up by its roots and the person reduced to a repertoire of behaviors. I couldn't agree more. It is a very harsh view over behaviorism, but it is very accurate, I would say. Yeah. And it's not only about the power of rewards, it's also about the seduction of rewards. And this is a very new and fascinating perspective. Rewards simply controlled through seduction rather than force. It is a measure of control, but rewards are indeed very seductive. They're very seductive for the people that use them and also for people who receive them. Rewards are more beneficial for the one who gives them. I agree. This is another new perspective in the sense that it is very common in our society now to believe that like the very word like reward can be really good for the one who receives it. But Alfie looks at the one who gives it, and most of the times rewards are actually, they look like the one who receives gets the longer part of the stick, but the one who gives the reward is the one who controls it. Like if I want to reduce a behavior or like make you do what I want you to do, I get the most benefit from the reward, from applying the reward. So those who give rewards are not the innocents. Like, and it was very hard for me to look at this matter from this perspective, because those who give rewards are those who basically exercise their power, and their power like of seduction, of making you do what you want them to do. So they're not innocent people. When we repeatedly promise rewards to children for acting responsible, or to students for making an effort to learn something, or for employees to do quality work, we are assuming that they could not or would not choose to act this way on their own. So you are dehumanizing someone when you are offering a reward. Basically, it's like, I am assuming that if I don't give this goodie to you, you will not be motivated to do what you're supposed to do. And this is like looking down upon someone. And it is not a very comfortable perspective to look at something, because I think that we have put like an angel mirror in front of those who give rewards, and it's very difficult to look at them as being manipulative. Basically, giving rewards is an act of manipulation. This is a new perspective. I could understand why Alfie got so much hate for writing this book. The third chapter, but before going to the third chapter, so is it ethical to give rewards? And the answer is no, it is not ethical. Is it right? It's not right. It's not right. And we will further see that it is better to cast them off completely. So rewards manipulate, rewards work on the assumption that the other person is unable or incapable, like by whose definition? By yours, to do what they're supposed to do. So they control, and they do not influence. So when you want to influence, you need a strategy. When you want to control, you just need a reward. So I just wanted to make that super clear. The third chapter, is it effective to reward? So does it work? This is basically the question. Like, we have been doing this thing, this pop behaviorism, for decades, and we have been applying it in personal relationships, in education. We have applied it at the workplace. It's like in the sports, in competitions. Like, behaviorism, like our society oozes with behaviorism. And the most important question to ask is, does it work? Like, if something has been used for so long and it is so prevalent in our lives, a lot of people like don't even have this impulse of trying to see if it works, and it doesn't. Just to sum it up, like it doesn't. Yeah. There's a very fine observation about behavior after like Alfie has really researched behaviorism a lot. And when it comes to behavior, regardless if it's like rat behavior or human behavior, research has shown that behavior is easier to control when the organism you are controlling is already dependent on you. This is an observation that can be, I can see, how could I say, like not to sound bad, but I could see this statement which sums up a vital, let's say, trait of behavior to be used in very devious and malevolent ways. In the sense that, for example, children are dependent on their parents. So this is why a lot of the times parents exert their control on their children, knowing that they cannot run. Like a lot of the parents, they know like this child is dependent on me, so they will do as I say. And I'm not stating that parents do this consciously, or even, let's say, like a manager knows that, I don't know, Bob has 2 mortgages and a baby on the way, and like he knows like, okay, Bob can't leave this job, so I will exert my control. So yeah, they will be more controlled. So this is a very, very fine observation, and I think it shows something that is happening in our societies at multiple levels, in the sense that when you deprive individuals of the ability to be independent, you basically control them. And this can be a very dangerous thing to use. Okay. Another observation about rewards is trying to see if they work on a long term. How can you tell if something works? So in the real world, even if not in a lab, rewards must be judged on whether they lead to lasting change that persists where there are no longer any goodies to be gained. So the question, like the elephant in the room that nobody addresses, is like, okay, if you stop rewarding, like, okay, has it worked? Because if you stop using the dangling goodie and the behavior doesn't remain the same, and it changed, basically what you have done, it doesn't work. So when the goodies stop, people go right back to acting the way they did before the program began. There have been multiple experiments done, and yet people go to their baseline level. So and this will be talked further, but dangling a reward and hoping that if you dangle it long enough and use it long enough, then the other thing, like the behavior, will also be altered for as much as you have been using the dangling. Like this is a very Skinnerian like behaviorism thinking, like I dangled this for 3 months and then the behavior will be modified because like on a lifetime. So this is absurd. Can you see like where I'm going? Like people believe that if they dangle a thing for 1 month, 2 months, or 10 years, they will permanently and finally alter the behavior for a lifetime. It's crazy. Like and this is what like I like about this book, because it puts things into a very, very clear perspective, because if you put it this way, you can see the absurdity of rewards. It's absurd. It's absurd to think that you can alter someone's behavior for a lifetime with a limited amount of rewards, or even with an infinite amount of rewards, because a human being's behavior is so much more than what a dangling thing tries to reach. It's like you're trying to throw a little pebble into an ocean. This is like, yeah. And they don't work. They don't work. Experiments also have proven that giving paid rewards makes the person make worse decisions. So it's even worse. Those who are they did some experiments when, like, where they have put people in separate groups, and one of the groups was like their main focus was the reward. They were told, okay, you have to do this, but you also get this for that. And another group was like, you're only going to do this, and that's it. They did not give the reward. So what happened in the group where people were told they were getting a goodie, they got worse. They got worse. They made like took 50% longer to solve the problem that they were given, and they were less efficient. Why this happened? And Alfie says that what is happening when you give a reward, you are like giving someone a task, okay? And that task will require some cognitive work, okay? But that is sufficient in itself. But if you also come and dangle something, it's like that person's brain now has 2 cognitive tasks in the comparison with that person who only has 1 task. And of course that you will use some of that energy of your brain to focus on the goodie that you'll get, and you'll be less focused on what you have to do. So this is completely detrimental to the activity itself. There are a lot of experiments that they are being talked about in this book. So if you are interested in knowing what Alfie bases his statements on, there are a lot of experiments that will completely blow your mind when it comes to rewards as being not effective at all. Again, another experiment with students that got offered money. And it's not uncommon for parents to offer money to their children, or managers to offer money to their employees, or schools to offer more money for teachers. So see where I'm going? So students who were not offered money performed significantly better than those who were paid. Unbelievable. And I found this shocking, the next study, and I definitely underlined it because it like completely shocked me. So young creative writers who merely spent 5 minutes, not more, 5 minutes, thinking up, so only thinking about the rewards their work could bring, money, public recognition, wrote less creative poetry than others who hadn't been reflecting on these reasons to pursue their craft. So this was shocking to me, because the experiment was like not giving a reward per se, like giving like a material reward, like something that you could smell, touch, feel, or money. You only had to think about the reward. So for me it was shocking, because it shows like even you, if you have the wrong mentality about why you are doing something, you can self-intoxicate yourself and diminish your ability to pursue something in a meaningful and effective way. So, like, I was thinking about creators in general, like if you're a writer, a photographer, maybe a chef, maybe, I don't know, teacher. Only if you think about, okay, maybe I will become a famous painter and this is why I'm painting, or oh, let me put on YouTube my latest song because maybe someone will notice me and make me like a superstar, or let me cook this recipe because this recipe was something that Gordon Ramsay got a lot of applauses for, and maybe I will. Only this mental rumination about the reward, the imaginary rewards that someone could get, is going to ruin the activity itself. I found this discovery to be just appalling. And another fascinating find for me was that professional artists do less creative work when that work is commissioned. And I was like, but this is how society works. Like, yeah, custom orders, let's personalize. But when someone who is in the creative field, and I think this finding is of immense power for whoever is going to listen to this, to just remove this aspect of your work. But there's another dilemma. Okay, if I'm creating only what I feel that I want to create without taking commissioned work, will I be able to sustain myself? And this is where the way our society works nowadays intervenes. But it's definitely a fascinating thing. There is one situation when rewards work, one in the entire research spectrum for decades. So rewards usually, but not in all cases, improve performance only at extremely simple, mindless tasks. And even then, they improve only quantitative performance. So, what does this statement tell us? It tells us that basically rewards work only for meaningless tasks. And I will mention here factories, the kind of menial, demeaning, often dehumanizing work that a lot of people have to do in factories and low-paid jobs. A job that I assume 50 years from now a robot could do, like a robot. But a lot of people do this for 8 hours in a row, this meaninglessness task, and it's like they're dying on the inside. And a lot of the times this is when a reward will work, only because like the work that you do is so repetitive and it demands so little of your human capacities that maybe only a reward will work. And I found this to be extremely sad for the human nature. And further along in the book, I could not agree with the author more when it comes to just eliminating in the future this kind of jobs that just dehumanize people. They just reduce them to laboratory animals, basically. There is a quote that I written down here that might be really nice to hear. Let me search for it. Let's see. So yeah, I like this quote because much sums up what rewards have done to people. So rewards are not effective, they're not ethical, and they do not work. So whoever is listening to this, please stop using them. Stop them. Like, rewards are not good. And again, another clarification before I read this quote: we should make a clear comparison between giving someone something out of your goodwill and giving something to someone contingent on their behavior. Like, these are two distinctions that I think a lot of people will be confused, in the sense, like, they look at reward as something goody, but when you offer a reward, think about, what do you really want? If you offer a reward but be honest with yourself, like, try not to like bullshit yourself. Ask yourself, am I giving this to this person unconditionally? It's like, okay, I'm gonna tell you, like, I really liked something or I'm gonna give you some money extra, or I'm going to give you like a trip or an ice cream or whatever. But through doing this, am I hoping to get something from you? Am I hoping that maybe I will sweeten up your decision in something? If I'm honest with myself and the answer to that is yes, is that you're not making a good gesture. You're like trying to reward someone and treating them like a laboratory rat in order for them to do what you want. This is a very clear distinction, and I think when it comes to rewards, the first question that should be asked, and it's a question that you put to yourself. So I think this would be more efficient, and Alfie like hits the nail on the head with this one, in the sense that he tries to pinpoint the fact that usually the most of the problems are with the people that offer the rewards rather than with the people that are supposed to receive them. And there is severe damage done to both parties involved. Both suffer, but the people who suffer the most are the ones who receive the rewards, believe it or not. So the quote about the people who are offered the rewards. So what do these people do, and what do they become? As one psychologist read the available research, people who are offered rewards tend to choose easier tasks, are less efficient in using the information available to solve novel problems, and tend to be answer-oriented and more illogical in their problem-solving strategies. They seem to work harder and produce more activity, but the activity is of a lower quality, contains more errors, and is more stereotyped and less creative than the work of comparable, non-rewarded subjects working on the same problem. This quote is truly revealing, and it's sad. It's sad because it shows that there's that old saying that all roads to hell are paved with good intentions. When you're giving someone a reward, you're taking something from them. You're taking their like humanity. You're taking something from them in the sense that you do not allow them to figure things on their own. You don't allow them, and you assume this is like the evilness of rewards. Basically, you assume that that person without your reward wouldn't do that thing. And that is quite an evil thing to do to someone. And I don't know how to put it better than just eliminating it. Yeah, just give it up. And I know it's super, super difficult, especially in the big like corporations where entire departments and huge sales and profits are being made because apparently because the thing with rewards are supposed to work, but they don't. And there was even like a study made with the top managers that got the highest pay, and there was a comparison done between the level of achievement and the level of pay between different managers throughout multiple companies in the USA. And what they have found from the managers themselves, so they had personal interviews with managers, the managers that got paid much more did not achieve more. Their achievements were pretty much the same with the managers that received normal pay. And also, upon being interviewed, they admitted, of course anonymously, that those who got the highest pay, they admitted that they did not feel stimulated to do more even if they got the highest pay. It is something very pernicious and something really degrading that is happening to a human being once it has been offered a reward. So I don't know, but if you look at it from a broader perspective, like, I don't want to be the one like conspiracy theories or something like that, but I would only state this thing: if you really want to destroy someone's motivation, if you really want to alter their self-esteem, if you really want to make them super dependent on you and insecure and aggressive, give them rewards. It will work marvelously marvelously at this job. Chapter number 4, the trouble with carrots: 4 reasons rewards fail. So after establishing the source of the mentality of these rewards, after seeing that it's unethical and they're not effective, Alfie Kohn delves even deeper in showing us why they don't work. Yeah, just four big reasons why they do not work. So there are novel ideas when it comes to rewards as being, as I told you, a form of exerting power, but they also punish. I have found this idea of this author completely new and just like a revelation. The idea that rewards are basically punishing the person that they're given to. And this is another distinct idea of this book that should be retained, that rewards and punishments are not opposites at all. They are 2 sides of the same coins. This is a new perspective. This is a new paradigm. I mean, often we believe that the good policeman is the reward and the bad police guy is like the punishment. And oftentimes we believe like, okay, and we put them on this dichotomy of like opposing like punishment and rewards, and they are opposites. But in fact, punishment and rewards are like intertwined. They are like just different facets of the coin. This is a very, very interesting perspective, definitely worth thinking about. Yeah. There is also, this is the part where a lot of people will get triggered because it's not also about rewards and punishments, but also about the psychological profile of someone who is prone to use praise and rewards. So praise is often favored by people whose style of dealing with children is conspicuously controlling or autocratic. So I'm not saying that this applies to all human beings on this planet, but studies have shown that people who are inclined to use praise and rewards are basically little tyrants. Like you like to put your foot on the ground and say, this is how we do it, and I have the punishment or I have the reward, and I'm gonna exert my power over you. So it does take a certain psychological profile to have this tendency, but I would make this very important detail obvious in the sense that I would not look at the problem as being an individual problem, but being at a level of society. The society is creating the fertile ground for such people to develop. This is like important to mention. Most studies have found that unexpected rewards are much less destructive than the rewards people are told beforehand and are deliberately trying to obtain. So coming back to the innocence of the person giving the reward, as I told you, if you make it, maybe the best case to use rewards is spontaneously and without any strings attached. That you could call an authentic reward. So yeah, if you just surprise someone with something out of the blue, you're more likely to do less damage. So that's a good tip for someone who likes, I don't know, likes or tries to control someone by giving goodies. So the first trouble, so there are 4 reasons. The first reason, rewards rupture relationships. This is why they don't work. They rupture it. And we as human beings, we strive for connection. Like we die without connection, especially like if we're a baby. If you don't connect, like your mom doesn't connect with you, you're like dead. Yeah. So relationships are ruptured just as surely when we see the powerful person as someone to be pleased, as when we see him or her as someone to be feared. It is very destructive for the relationship. If you want to have good relationships, regardless, like don't think when I say relationship like romantic, no, including like workplace relationships, like family relation, everything. If you use rewards, you are severing the relationship, because every time you give it more or less of, something in that relationship breaks. And it's like, okay, I feel insecure because you have given me less than the last time, or on the contrary, you haven't given me more and I don't know why. And it creates a drama that human relationships don't need. A reward, like there's enough drama already in the human relationships, and adding a reward, it's just causing more drama and rupture. And they also often, like, they reduce achievement, so you'll achieve less and you'll feel less worthy. This also takes a toll on your self-esteem, and with low self-esteem, your relationships will not be that great. One practice that is commonly, so commonly done in our society. And again, we have come to believe this is normal. Like, nobody questions, like, do you need water? Nobody would question that, okay? And this common practice is so wrong, and I can understand why after I have read Alfie Kohn. But it is very destructive to limit the number of rewards. For example, one prize for 30 students. Do you remember back in the school days when they used to give like first prize, like the most achieving one, the most something, anything, and they would give one prize? That's the like, it's a vicious move to do that, but it's so implemented in our schools. It's so like, it's instilled in our work environments. Like, there's one big dangle, like one big juicy dangle, like it just dangles like this, wow. And there are like 30 people or 60 or 100 or thousands that just salivate at at the idea of that reward. And this is one way to really ruin humans. Really, it's destructive. It's like, think of all of those people salivating after that reward. It becomes a fight. It's like, I have to compete with you to get my hands on that reward. So I will not build a relationship with you of trust, of collaboration, of no, you are my enemy. So whenever you dangle a reward just imagine like you are creating a hungry wolf out of a normal human being. And again, I could not understand how this is so prevalent in our society, and nobody, rather than a little few that dare to trigger a lot of people by saying that dangling a reward is bad, is vicious, is manipulative, it's controlling, and it's basically ruining humans. So yeah, when it comes to the school environment, when students learn together in carefully structured groups, the quality of their learning is typically much higher than where the sharpest of them could manage in solitude. So they took groups of high achieving students individually, like each of them was really brilliant, and they gave them some tasks to do individually. They performed okay, but when the same group of students were put like in a group working together, like their level of solving issues and of learning skyrocketed. This is contrary to what a lot of schools do, including in the architecture of the building itself, like the way kids are being put to sit from kindergarten to like a culture of collaboration is not encouraged. And Alfie says this, and I agree with him, that in this way you create individualistic, very easy to manipulate individuals that will basically obey for orders. And this is the perfect worker for a lot of people in the higher power range. So if you want to encourage people to think for themselves, you want to help them to collaborate, if you want to crush the human soul and make individuals resentful, make them have low self-esteem, yeah, dangle them a reward and make them fight for it, and they will have no relationships, no connections, they will be vicious with each other. And this is what we're doing at a big, big scale. Yeah. The second reason why rewards fail is the fact that they ignore reasons. So rewards ignore reasons. Rewards do not require any attentions to the reasons that the trouble developed in the first place. So it's like putting a band-aid over a big crack on the soil, like an earthquake is coming and it's like you see that big crack opening up and you go and put a small little band-aid. That's basically pretty much image of what rewards are basically doing. Yeah. The bigger the reward, the easier the task that people choose. Yeah, it's true. So again, it does not require a lot of attention to see why a person is not performing when you're dangling a reward. There are not solutions. A lot of people have this thing in their mind, and it's not their fault. We have a problem at a level of society. A lot of people associate rewards with solutions. So they have a situation, someone is not performing, reward, solution, reward, solution. This is the mental scheme that is happening. The problem is that the scheme is wrong. Solutions, like rewards, are not solutions. They are gimmicks. They are gimmicks, they are shortcuts, quick fixes that mask problems and ignore reasons. They never look below the surface. This is why they don't work on the long term. So yeah, when you think about rewarding someone, especially like if they're not doing something as you want, just shift the problem, shift it mentally. How do you do that? I think this metaphor that it just popped into my head now, it's really, really good in the sense that look at the problem, not at the person being as a problem. Don't do that. No, look at the problem and compare it with a small crack on the earth's surface, but underneath it's like a huge crack. And imagine yourself with a band-aid, like a small little band-aid, put it. If you would look at yourself, you'd laugh. You say, what is this person trying to do with the band-aid over a top of a huge chasm in the soil? Are they crazy? Like, that will not work. You need to bring more soil or solve the problem. See why the crack has happened. Is an earthquake coming? What is going on? It's like, I don't know, gold popping out of that crack. What's happening? And if you manage to think of it this way, you start to realize the absurdity of you dangling a reward. So make this analogy like dangling, like trying to put a band-aid over a big like crack in the earth. It's absurd. It doesn't work. It doesn't solve the problem of the chasm. Don't do it. Okay. Good. The fourth reason why they do not work, rewards, and this is based on multiple studies done in the USA, rewards discourage risk taking. So when we work for a reward, we do exactly what is necessary to get it and no more. Oh my God, hallelujah. The truth has been spoken, because it's super, super true. And like, I think this is a place where self-analysis could come really handy. Just think about a moment in your life when you knew you had a target to make and a reward for that target. Like, did you do extra just be honest with yourself. No, you didn't. Like, unless you had nothing to do with your time, most people, like, they only do the basic necessary, what is required of them. Like, again, I'm gonna give the factory example. Like, if someone has to make 50 iPhones per day, like, they will not, like, that's the norm. Nobody will go overboard and say, oh my God, I feel so motivated, I feel so enthralled, and it's amazing, I want to do 80s. Like, no, nobody will do that. Like, everybody will stick to the norm. And this is true. This is very, very true. The reward, I really love this quote, and I think it should be like placed like on a sticker on your front desk or on your phone, wherever. Like, rewards are enemies of exploration. So rewards are preventing you and the person that you are rewarding to explore. When you're offering a reward, you're choosing the easy way out. Like, instead of making the time to explore the problem, explore why it's happening, what is happening, just explore, you choose the easy way to just dangle the reward, like you're handling Pavlov's dog, okay? And the person who takes the reward is also taking the easy way out, because they're not exploring themselves. They're not trying to see, okay, do I even like what I do? Why am I here? Like, it's an issue. Like, why am I not performing? I'm not feeling so motivated. I wonder why. But it is easier to say, okay, I hate what I do and I don't care why I hate it. I'm just gonna take the reward and God bless them, you know? And this is, yeah, this is in no circumstances, no sane circumstances, exploration friendly. This is a killer. This is a killer. This is how the soul of a human being can die. Yeah. A lovely observation about discouraging like the risk-taking effect of rewards. If people all around us generally pick the easiest task, it may be because rewards are all around us too. So this is not like a blame competition, like blaming people who take the easy way out. I have come across this, and I think a lot of you too, considering that the person that slacks, you know, those people, like, you look at them and they have 8 hours work, but they basically only work maybe 4 hours and the rest they probably slack it off or pretend to work or just praying for Friday, dear God. And often we blame them, and oh, that's such a slacker, he doesn't like to work, or this is very flawed, because that person, like, again, this is such a pop behaviorism perspective of a human being, judging them only based on their behaviors without looking at the root cause of the behavior and the environment in which that person is being put. A lot of people who I would say, or you would say, that they are slackers, if you put them into an environment that is really friendly with their inner abilities, with their talents, they will bloom. It's like, it's not the flower, it's the soil. So if you are embedding a lot of rewards into your soil, it could be like into the work environment soil, into your marriage soil, into your parenting soil, do not be surprised of, like, yeah, you're getting what you're planting. And if you're planting a lot of rewards, you will get a lot of slacking, and you will get a lot of indifference, and you will get a lot of demotivation, because it is only natural. It is a natural behavior of the human being to develop in such a way if you put so many rewards and so many things that are dangling. It's like really, really detrimental, and it's really not good. It's bad. So the main four reasons, and I will repeat them, like why they do not work. It's like they rupture the relationships, they ignore the reasons, they discourage risk taking, and yeah, don't use them if you can, and you can. I know it's harder, but there is research showing they just don't work unless like only for mindless tasks, things that a robot could do. Only then use them. But I want to believe that people do not consider their children, their partner, or their employees like robots to be handled, because if that's the case, it's really, really sad. Okay, the fifth chapter from part one. Let me see. Cutting the interest rate, the fifth reason rewards fail. Here with Alfie takes us on a talk about motivation, about intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. I have talked about this topic in his previous book, Unconditional Parenting, but I will also mention it in here. Case closed with motivation. Like, motivation only works if it comes from inside. You cannot motivate someone just, yeah, this thing with I'm going to motivate them, I'm gonna give them something, and I will be the person to motivate. It's deeply flawed, it's super wrong, and it's not efficient. So intrinsic motivation is basically enjoying what one does for its own sake. So it's like, how could I say this? Yeah, just take a woman that really loves to cook, and she makes a gorgeous cake, not to have something to display on Instagram or have someone praise her. She just enjoys baking a cake. That is a woman that is intrinsically motivated. On the other side, a woman that will bake a cake just to get, I don't know, the praise of her husband, or just to prove something to someone, that is a woman that is extrinsically motivated by something from outside herself. One finding, a pivotal finding discovered by Alfie, is that extrinsic rewards reduce intrinsic motivation. So basically, you can screw someone over who is motivated like in themselves by giving them rewards. So if you want to ruin someone, again, this can be used in so many like mischievous ways. If you give them a reward and they are already doing something that they like, you screw them over. So if you want to screw someone over, give them a reward for doing something they like doing. And I was like, what? This is an amazing finding, because a lot of the times people are inclined to reward someone. Like, you see your child that they sit in their room and they are really immersed in reading, and it's like, oh my god, that's so good, I'm gonna reward them. You're gonna screw them over. Like, no, do not intervene. If someone does something that they already like doing, do not praise them, do not reward them, just let them be. And this is something that I think we will need a lot of training as a society, because it's so common to want to reward people who are already doing something good. Yeah, just leave it like that. And it's really hard for us not to want to intervene. And most of the interventions are ego-based. Like, I want to show you that my appreciation matters. So I will reward you. So I would feel good about myself rewarding you. No, don't do it. Um, Rewarding people, this is wow. I put a big wow in this quote. Like, rewarding people might even be regarded as a clever strategy for deliberately undermining interest in something. So if someone is really diabolical, could use rewards to basically screw someone over. Oh my God. And another discovery blew my mind. A single one-time reward for doing something you used to enjoy can kill your interest in it for weeks. Wow. And I was like, again, thinking back in my history, in my past, that's so right. Like, again, for example, if you're very good at woodworking, yeah, you're very good at woodworking, and you're doing like working on a project, yeah, you work like at your place, you have a home and you work at your woodworking project, and you're super stoked, and you're not doing it for the money, you don't want to sell your work, you're just doing it for the pure pleasure of it. And someone comes by, a friend, and tells you, oh my God, look at this, this is so nice, let me give you something, like I will buy some extra wood for you, or I will definitely advertise your work, just let me. They will offer you something, they can kill your joy. You'll be like, damn, it's like you're not gonna feel so motivated. And I think this is the reason why a lot of artists, they do not like to show a progress of their work, because they can get praised for it. They can get like, wow, you're painting, wow. It's like, and something in you as an artist dies. It's like, wow, is it so impressive, but I'm not even finished with my work. And it's like, wow, can I even go to that higher standard that you have placed me upon? It's wow. I was like shocked when I read this. It's like one single remark or one single reward, it can be a verbal reward, can kill your interest in that activity for weeks. So it can push you back. Again, someone who is very diabolical could do this on purpose, knowing that it would kill your passion. So you have to be very introspective and very self-aware to catch yourself and to analyze yourself, how you perform and react after someone comes and praises you or gives you a reward or appreciates your work that you already like to do. Very dangerous. So yeah, do not, I would say here, like a big advice, if you love something and you really love it for the sake of it, yeah, don't show it to other people while you work on it. Show it at the end, and try not to care about what other people say, because it's more important to really maintain your passion for doing that thing. And now I can understand also why social media can just suck life out of creators, really suck the life out of them, because it's basically a reward treadmill. Yeah, treadmill towards rewards. Fascinating discovery. Fascinating. Wow. So some other studies have been talked about in here. Rewards are usually also experienced as controlling, and we tend to resist. People resist when they feel they are controlled. It's a natural, like I resist. So this is a lot of the times people even like push you away after you offer a reward. Like, I'm trying to resist to you controlling me. Some evidence even suggests that the extent to which we experience an environment as controlling is a better predictor of reduced interest than whether we have been offered a reward. yeah, control. If you control someone, or you try to control how they work, how they think, how they perform, if you try to control them through various means, including rewards or praise or punishments, they will not perform. They will perform even worse. And another study has shown that when we are carefully monitored as we work on a task, we tend to lose interest in it. And I was like, again, it blew my mind, because it's like, oh, okay, so it makes sense. Like when you hear people like, hey, I'm doing something, or I'm gonna cook something. Okay, let's just take this very mundane, easy to understand examples. So I'm gonna cook something. I'm gonna cook something in my kitchen, and I really don't want company. I don't want company. I want to do it alone. And it's like, it's not like you don't like the company. It's like you feel a sort of surveillance when you are doing something that you like, and someone else wants to come and watch over your shoulder. It's horrible. It's horrible, and you no longer have interest in the task, because, and I like, Alfie doesn't mention anything about this, but I would be very interested to see, like, from a neuroscience perspective, like what's happening in your brain, in the sense that I assume there is more cognitive overload on your brain when you're being watched over. It's like you can no longer have like the energy to focus on one task, because you also have to focus on like the other person. You have to focus on what the other person does. You have to focus on what that person might believe about what you do. You might like, it's like instead of having one thing to focus on, you have maybe 5 things to focus on. And I would assume, it is not in the book, but I would assume, it would be very interesting to do like research on that. Why is it like this? Like why we lose the interest? And it might be also because of the thing that we cannot focus on, like we can only focus on a couple of things at a time. Yeah. A lot of studies are done on children, because Alfie has also been a teacher, and I think it's really relevant to read these. And one observation is that rewarding children for playing a game makes them less interested in it. Telling them which game they must play reduces its appeal. Yeah. So when you say someone go play with this or go play with that, it's very detrimental. Just let children pick their own activity, because they do, like, they have an innate kind of experience of life that you have no understanding of. You cannot go and, I don't know, take a dive into your children's souls and know what they feel. Like, they know what they need. You don't have to tell them, go pick your math book and do some math exercises because that's fun. It's like, no, maybe that child wants to paint, maybe that child wants to play with dirt, or yeah, just don't do that. And in the school environment, I think we have decades of work on our hands in changing the way we have thought of curriculums and the way we have structured learning. We have to unlearn a lot of things and give children a choice. A lot of the times, children and adults in the educational system do not have a choice over what they want to learn. They're being told what to learn, what to play, what they should do. They have no choice. This is extremely detrimental. Yeah. I really love this quote, and again, it's gonna trigger some people. The practice of rewarding people conveniently spares us from asking hard questions about why we are asking people to do things that are devoid of interest in the first place. So I don't want to stick my case in saying that lazy people do rewards, but it might be some truth in it. There's a sort of laziness that giving rewards shows. It's very easy. It's very comfortable. Yeah, it's easy busy. Most American schools, I think this might be the remark that made Alfie have a lot of haters, but it's true. And I would say also European, very American schools marinate students in behaviorism. So the result, unsurprisingly, is that children's intrinsic motivation drains away. Yeah, we are creating this I look at schools as being mini places in which we create the traits of future society individuals. So if you marinate those individuals in toxic beliefs and toxic practices, you're gonna reap the results of the society that we have now, and it's not looking good. And partially schools are to have a role in it. Yeah. There is also some recent research that correlates that extrinsically orientated people, presumably as a result of having been subjected to extrinsic environments, tend to be more depressed, and to feel more helpless than intrinsically orientated people. When things aren't going their way, their reaction gets even worse. This is bad. So if schools are like this, we are preparing a future society with very mentally volatile individuals, prone to depression, prone to anxiety, low self-esteem, easy to manipulate, but basically on the deepest human level, pretty much useless. And this is very dehumanizing to do to a young mind, to a young child. And again, as Alfie says, the whole educational system and the whole society should be changed when it comes to the premises of what makes a human being successful. And successful means mentally sane. And rewards definitely play with the mental health of someone, because when you put depression, you are already addressing a mental issue. So I think if someone would know all of that I'm saying in here, maybe they would be even more inclined to look at their gestures of goodwill as something like bad. It's almost like you're doing a sort of a crime, giving rewards. So maybe this will put some senses into the people that might be laughing and saying, oh, but I only did a little dangle, or oh, they're kids, they'll forget about it. No, this is not so innocent, because rewards, as research has shown, does something to people. It does something on a very, very deep level. This is not innocent. So to know this and to still continue to do rewards, that is already diabolical, I would say. Yeah. There are some tips given by the author how to minimize the damage of rewards. So rewards are damage. So I'm very happy that the author has managed to take a concept that has been look at it, look at as being angelic, like it has like a good aura, rewards. I'm rewarding, I'm such a saint. No, take it from there and put it where it belongs to, in the evil category. Like evil rewards are bad. And there are some tips to minimize the damage of rewards. To offer rewards after the fact as a surprise. So the element of surprise. So if you really cannot contain yourself and you have no power to have some self-discipline and give up rewards, which I admit it requires some discipline. But if you're in the process and you're trying, at least you're trying, just offer them as a surprise, not contingent on something, just randomly, like computer program randomly selecting, okay, I'm going to give a reward. Well, I don't care what happens. I don't care what happens. I don't care how the person reacts. It's just a reward. And I wouldn't call it even a reward. I have a repulsion to the world. Just a gift, never turn the quest for rewards into a contest. So do not put a reward and dangle it in front of 30 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, or millions of people. Something that unfortunately it's still done. It's like dangling all sorts of rewards in front of people that will fight for them. Don't do that. Give people as much choice as possible about how rewards are used. So again, there is something good that is happening in people when you allow them to have something to say, but genuinely, not that bullshit, like, oh yeah, we will receive your feedback honestly and sincerely and we will implement what you say. No, just genuinely give them give people a sense of agency in their lives and feel like what they have to say really matters, and you will take it into consideration. But this has to be genuine. If it's not genuine, it's not going to work. So these are small tips that could mitigate the dangers of rewards. Okay. The sixth chapter is, I would say, the sister of rewards. So if rewards would have a sister, an evil sister, that would be praise. The praise problem, the sister of, it's not something that the author says, but I think that, yeah, it's the evil sister of rewards. Unfortunately, and I think this is a niche to be explored if you're a researcher or you want to do research or you're just fascinated by the subject. There are very few studies between the relationship between praise and achievement. So this is a niche in research and a niche in, I would say, educational research, because this kind of research could help you know how to educate better, and performance-based education. Yeah, I would say that, performance-based education. Yeah, so this is a niche to be, I don't know, delved upon. So something that will surprise you, that an effective way to disrupt skilled performance is to compliment the performer immediately or immediately beforehand. Fascinating. Again, praise, verbally encouraging someone, verbally praising them, like you're screwing them over. So shut up. I think a lot of the problems with praise is the inability of some people to just shut up. They have nothing to say, about what you're doing, or they feel like they want to fill that awkward silent void, and they just, a praise comes out of their mouth. It's really bad. It's like, yeah, you're interrupting a skilled performance, a skilled performer, by interrupting with your praise. Praise impedes performance. It's really not good. Children, again, I'm quoting from studies done on human beings for real. So children who were frequently praised by their mother for displays of generosity tended to be slightly less generous on an everyday basis than other children. Wow, I was blown away. I was blown away because this is such a common belief in parenting. This is such a common belief in early childhood education, I would say, that praising a child for good behavior will make them do more of the good behavior that you are praising. This is a huge myth that I don't know if Alfie Kohn had the power to demolish with his book, but we need more. We need like 10x, 100x power, like this kind of book to demolish this huge myth, in which I also used to believe that it's very good. Okay, you have been so generous. This is so kind of you. Oh, it's like, no, it's really bad. It's really bad. Why? And another fascinating, this is what I really loved about this book, because it really made me question all of my rugged old beliefs and realize that I have to throw them in the dumpster. And a core idea about this myth of praising people for good deeds and good behavior is the idea that a positive judgment, so a praise is basically a positive judgment, okay? So I'm praising you, it's something good. I'm not gonna praise you for something bad, okay? So a positive judgment is still a judgment. That's huge, because a judgment is, again, about control. So judgment goes on the premises that I am good enough and brave enough and smart enough to make a positive judgment about you. It is positive, it feels nice, but it's a judgment, and it comes from a place of control and superiority, I would say. This is again a very novel perspective on positive things that we have put on a pedestal in our society, basically. Wow. Another quote that really touched me: praise, at least as commonly practiced, is a way of using and perpetuating children's dependence on us. It gets them to conform to our wishes, and irrespective of what those wishes are. Praise also discourages self-directed learning. Yeah, so when you praise a child, you make them dependent on you. It's a form of control. It might not be easy to hear for a mother or for a, I don't know, partner or for a CEO, but when you praise someone, you exert your control on them. So it's not noble. You're not noble, you're not innocent. You're not as innocent as you want yourself, like, or you want to portray yourself as. It's like, this is again very triggering, extremely triggering, because we want to see ourselves as good human beings. Like, no human being will be proud to show, unless it's something pathological and comes to the realm of psychopathy and severely mentally disturbed individuals. But no human being would be proud to admit or to display that they're horrible human beings. It's like we like to hold ourselves on a higher regard and to think of ourselves like noble and good, and even when we are not. And praise, it's something like very egoic, I would say, and Alfie really like hits the nail on this, and it's such a fine observation, and it's mind-blowing because it shifts everything. Like when you see that your praise, it's not an innocent act, it comes from your desire to put yourself like on a pedestal of giving good judgments. Like, I am so, it's like, who gave you a degree in good praising? Like, who? So are you you're a good person who gives good praise to people based on what? On your self-assessment? And it's like, this is deep and triggering because it shows that praise is again something bad, something quite evil. It's the evil sister of rewards, and they have been put on a pedestal of good deeds. And a lot of people think of themselves as being very noble, but in fact, if they would be honest with themselves, they would see like, oh, I'm doing it from an ego point. Like, I want to feel good about myself. Because if I tell you something that makes me look super smart, like I'm appreciating your art, so I do have a knowledge on art and whatever, blah blah, it's like I feel good about myself about praising you. So this is very like, I can understand how the mechanism of rewards and praise can thwart your perspective on what's really a good deed. Yeah, this is really deep, really deep. And there is not sufficient there are not sufficient studies, but I would be very interested if they would be, about the damage that praise does depending on the sexes. So praise is more likely to have undesirable consequences for females rather than males. And there's a little research about it, not enough, because I can give it credit, like, we live in such a society where why would anyone would want to take the risk of demolishing something that is like, it is like almost embedded in our society. It's a huge task. So there is very little research about it. But it's interesting. It's interesting to know that it can definitely do more damage for females. Definitely very interesting. Okay. I have written down in here 2 principles to be considered before praising. So whenever you feel the need, there comes that little devil on your shoulder and it tells you, oh my god, I feel the need to praise someone. It's like, ooh, it's like, oh, I have to stop. Like when that thought is coming to you, as Viktor Frankl says, between stimulus and response, there is a gap, and in that gap you have the freedom to choose. So I would use this statement of Viktor Frankl when it comes to reacting in order to give someone a praise. Whenever you feel this impulse, and it's so hard, I have tried it, it's so hard because it's so embedded in us because of the education, to stop yourself, really stop yourself. It could be milliseconds, and ask yourself two crucial questions that are basically questions about these principles that you have to think about. There are 2 principles that you have to think about. I would say it's mandatory for you to think about before praising. So before opening your mouth and letting that pigeon of praise fly away. So the first principle that you have to think about, is self-determination. What does it mean? What is it? So ask yourself, with every comment we make, we need to ask ourselves, are we helping that individual to feel a sense of control over his life? So if I'm opening my mouth and I'm telling you some extraordinary babble that I think about your work, will it help you to become, like, to have a sense of control over what you're doing? Very important. Very, very important. And the second principle is about intrinsic motivation. Are our comments turning the task into something the person does to win our approval? So if I open my mouth and the pigeon of praise comes out flying and I'm saying something, will this make you dependent on what I say? Like, if I praise you for how beautiful your work or whatever, you're a genius, you're like, oh, wow, you're such a genius in mathematics, incredible, wow. Like, okay, will this help you? Will this help you in any way? Like, how is my positive judgment going to help you? Or will you try to attempt, like, to solve even more complex math problems next time? So next time you would show me how more of a genius you are in comparison with the last time. See? So praise has no room, basically. Praise is something that you must really fight with, because it's on the inside, because it's a problem. I think that praise is mostly a problem with the person that it's given it, like, it gives the praise, because there's something in that person, like, why do you feel like, why? Yeah, it's very interesting perspective, definitely triggering on so many levels. But do remember to examine your motives for saying what you say, and think how your comments sound to the individual that hears it. Yeah, this is something that we do not often think about. Again, I'm not innocent. I have been practicing the use of rewards. I have been practicing the use of praise. Boy, did I do it. But this perspective that it's triggering and new and novel and shocking and really not very popular through the behaviorism fans is the idea of really thinking how you sound on the receiving end. Because when you dangle a reward or you dangle a praise or something, you often think about how you feel. Be honest with yourself. Like, you feel good. It's like, oh, you. Like, you never think, how does this reach the other person? Like, you often think that it, like, we often think that people receive things the way we would receive them. And we make judgments and we take on behaviors accordingly. So it is very flawed to believe that I would feel good if I would receive this reward or this praise. So I'm going to do it to another person based on the assumption that it would feel good for me. That is so wrong, and this is the recipe for disaster. And I think it explains the disaster that we have in society when it comes to education is failing us. Like, the educational system doesn't work. It because most of the successful people that really made an impact, they dropped out of school. Like it doesn't work because it's flawed, and it promotes things that are outside of the individual's control. Being rewarded, being praised is something that you cannot control. It's outside of you. So how can this make you a sane human being? It doesn't. So what's the solution? Because it's pretty gloomy. So again, research has shown that something that works with people, and it really works in the sense of not diminishing their self-worth and not diminishing their interest in an activity or their intrinsic motivation. So adults and children, so this applies to adults, become more interested in what they are doing when they get straightforward feedback about how they are doing it. So honesty is the best policy. I'm not saying that you should go and if someone's work completely sucks, you go and bully them and tell them, hey, I'm not gonna go and be an advocate of praise because Alfie Kohn says it's not good, so I'm just gonna tell you that your work sucks. It's like, no. But definitely I think diplomacy would play a role, and giving them, just think of it as giving feedback, just honest, neutral feedback without being loaded with your self-assessment, self-judgment, like you put yourself as being the mighty god of whatever activity, but you just give feedback. Like if you're a chef, again, I'm going to go to this very simple examples, like you are a chef and you have some trainees that really have to make ratatouille, let's say, whatever. And it's like, if they're gonna come with the sample of their work and you're gonna give them a feedback, it's like, and what's the best kind of feedback? What is a feedback that is not a reward, a feedback that is not a praise, a feedback that is not a critic? It's very, very difficult to give good feedback. It's basically honest, technical feedback. Like, your ratatouille is salty. It has more salt than, or it has, it's like, not, oh, your ratatouille is salty because you're so stupid, or you're so clumsy, or oh my god, your ratatouille is so amazing because you have such great skills about whatever, you got born with it, or that would be already bad. No, just constant, like, or a student comes maybe with a paper or an essay, and you just be very specific. Go, like, when people receive specificality in their feedback, like you are specific, you pinpoint, like you need to work more on your closing statements in your essays. That's very specific. That's not like, I don't think you could be a good writer, or that's so, like, what? No, specific feedback. It's like, okay, I think this is a very good observation. Yeah. Feedback that pinpoints the source of the problem and offers suggestions for improvement is likely to minimize the dangers in criticism. Yeah, so do not criticize, do not go over the other side of praise and become a cynical critic. Don't do that. What's important to again, some steps to mitigate the dangers of the evil sister of rewards, which is praise. Don't praise people. Don't praise people, only what people do. So praise the activity, like maybe a painter, oh my god, you're such a wonderful person, or you're such a great, no, okay, I really like your watercolor technique. So see, it's very different. Make praise as specific as possible. So again, this requires effort. Let's not be hypocritical and hold ourselves to a higher standard. when it comes to praise, general praise, because being specific requires more attention, it requires more effort. Being very general and praising just for the sake of it requires laziness. So yeah, it's not easy, it's triggering for sure, but a very general praise shows that you're lazy and you did not take the time to really analyze the person, but you want to go on their good side and you're gonna give a general praise, whatever, blah blah. So again, the problem is with the person that praises. Avoid phony praise. People can smile it from a mile away. Anyone, no, regardless of their social status, you can smell like it has like a very vile smell, like pungent smell of fakeness. People that give you fake praise and phony praise, don't do it. It's going to backfire so much. And avoid praise that sets up a competition. Again, competition is bad. I know we live in a society where we have Olympic sports as competitions, so we think it's normal. No, it's not so good. So avoid the dangling praises and good words as a means to control competition. It is never a good idea to praise someone by comparing her to someone else. Such comments undermine intrinsic motivation. This explains a lot. This is why it doesn't work to say, oh, but Mary got an A and you got a B. Wow, but why? Or this employee, you know, Bob works harder than you work. Like, he's a better employee. This is going to backfire so much, like, and people use it all the time. Like, the irony of human nature in this society we have created, that we tend to use more and more and more of the things and mechanisms that proved to not work, and we do it more and more and more. It's like stop. It's like, and people do it constantly, comparing other people. Like, I try to compare you with someone else in order to show you that you should step up and level up, and I hope that me putting you under someone will motivate you. It's so stupid, but people do it all the time, unconsciously. I do not say that this is like premeditated or evil, although it could be from some people, but usually it's like it doesn't work. So do not compare people, like, or people that do like partners. They, oh, I had my ex was doing this differently, or they, in hopes to, no, you will lose so badly, and they will lose motivation, and they will just perform worse than before. So personal relationship, business relationships, like, if you want to really destroy a relationship, go and compare a person with somebody else, and yeah, it's enough to destroy everything. Yeah. There is one situation where you could apply a positive comment, and that is in private. So avoid criticizing or praising someone in public or comparing them. But if you really feel out of the goodness of your heart, although it's better not, but if you truly feel you want to say something good to someone, do it in private. Never do it in public. You put the spotlight on them in public. It's something that a lot of people don't want to be put on a spotlight, and you do it without their consent. It can be very, very unpleasant for people, even if it's a good praise. Just don't do it. Don't do it. If you have something to say to someone, do it in private. If you really cannot contain yourself. It's very, very hard. I loved this quote about praise, and I will say it because it's like the condensed version of what praise really is. So Praise is cheap and easy. By contrast, it takes skill and care and attention to encourage people in such a way that they remain interested in what they are doing and don't feel controlled. So praise is cheap and easy. Do you really want to associate yourself with something that is cheap and easy? So this again could be a different way to put praise in perspective. It's just like I told you with the rewards before, like the devil comes on your shoulder and you want to dangle a reward. Just think of yourself as putting a small plaster on top of a huge crack in the soil. Again, with praise, it's something cheap and it's easy. It lacks quality. Praise is not a quality thing. We associated praise as being something of quality. It's flawed, it's cheap, it's really easy. So next time you really want to feel like, oh, I really want to praise someone, I really want to tell them how good they do, like, yeah, do I really want to associate myself with an act that it's basically so cheap and so ineffective? Like, why? It's like stuffing yourself with KFC while you pretend to be a fitness model. It's, yeah, really good quote. Praise is also conditional, and this is why it doesn't work. Praise is conditional. Why? I cannot praise you if you're not performing at the level of excellence that I think you are worthy of praising. So if next time the painter will paint something like a rabbit instead of Mona Lisa, maybe he will not get the praise, so I will not praise him. Why? It's nothing. Mona Lisa is something but a rabbit. Who's gonna praise that? So it's conditional. Praise is conditional. It's not something we do out of our noble heart. Again, something very triggering for people who like to believe that they are very noble human beings by giving praise. Yeah. Another quote that I loved, because it's about the fate, the destiny of children, in the way that we have put them in this very Skinnerian boxes. We ignore at our peril, and more important, our children's peril, the question of whether the material they ask to learn is engaging and relevant to their life experience. We ignore that. I like this quote because it shows again how most of our schools, I do not want to put all of them in one basket, but most of our schools are not meant to be for children. They are schools meant to herd individuals into patterns of thinking and behaving that are of advantage for some people. So schools are not being, they do not take into consideration what children need, yet we place our children, our most beloved things, children, into these institutions, ignoring their basic needs and completely disregarding if it's relevant for them to know, I don't know, extremely sophisticated physics, but lack emotional learning. I can understand again why the author is a very polarizing author, because like a lot of people hate on him because he had the courage to write about this, and it's not a new book. It's not a new book. It's in the 90s, I think, written. To state the fact that our schools are boxes, are behaviorism boxes. And this is why a lot of, maybe you would call it rich people, or they do not place their children in the public schools. They search for the best education, or maybe they have private tutors, because they know the perils of placing a young mind into an institution that is not meant to teach them how to think. They are still, like our schools are based on Skinnerian behaviorism principles that got developed because pigeons and rats were studied. And Alfie says that Skinner, the father of behaviorism, is a guy that worked his entire life with pigeons and rats, yet he made this theory work for humans. Really, really something. And the problem is behaviorism itself. So this part that I'm ending, the part 1 of this book for today, is not about the author and myself including. Like, I'm not, like, he's not trying to blame or to point fingers on people, but rather to point the finger of the behaviorism itself and the society. The society is creating the individuals. The way in which society is thought is meant to function. The principles upon which it is, like, based, like, we have some principles that are really important in society. So you should work, and you should pay your taxes, and you should this, and you should that, and individuals comply, but they do not know why, and then they are, like, surprised by the middle-age crisis. It's not a surprise, it's a normal reaction to the absurdity of the behaviorism, of the pop behaviorism, which is still applied in 2024 on multiple levels. So this first part has basically described where do we stem our beliefs from, and it's from Skinner, his very bad behaviorism, which has been adopted by multiple people. There are still people who believe that a human being can be judged solely on what they do. So without looking at the environment, without looking at the influences that the environment had upon that person, without looking at personality, at traits, like a very sterile perspective on the human being, and it's dehumanizing. So rewards and praise do not work. I would sum it up, because they dehumanize. And the persons who are using rewards and praise, they are also a product of the society, and they think they do the right thing. Like, very few people realize, or manager wives, teachers, you name it, very few realize the absurdity of what they're doing, because they also have been, I don't know, hoaxed into thinking that this is the way. And unfortunately, this kind of message and this kind of books, they're not going through YouTube advertisement program. No, you don't gonna see that. And I just hope that the work of this kind of thinkers will be able to make subtle changes. So they don't work, so don't use them. Don't use them. It's going to be very, very difficult, because basically you have to modify a lifetime set of behaviors. But I do hope that some of the things that I talked about today will somehow touch your soul, something that behaviorism can't do. Because in behaviorism, there's no such thing about the human soul, no. and make you implement. I think it's difficult, but it will be well worth it. And I think we need a new set of working tools that we need as humans in order to create a different society from what we see today, because it's not good, and it's gonna get a bit worse before it's gonna get a bit better. So this is the first part of the book. In the upcoming streams I will talk the second and the third part, yeah, I will. There is also something about solutions, because there are solutions and there are alternatives to rewards and praise, but mostly a lot of the issue stems from the inability of human beings to sit in silence without rewarding, without praising, just witnessing that other person's excellence or struggle. And we have come to become quite intolerant of struggle or of excellence, and we feel the need to intervene. And this is where the humans have a lot of work to do. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.